Okay, I am sad to report. Yes, I am sad. Very sad. Very, 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 very sad today because it looks like this might be our maiden. Is it maiden voyage
No,
or
maiden
bon
voyage is our
voyage
first. This is
voyage?
a bon voyage. Well, I think we're going
Yes.
on hiatus for a time, possibly. I don't know. We haven't figured out what we're doing, but we do have congratulations are in order, Mister Morning News Guy for ABC6 in Providence.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Or should I say, thank you, Mike?
Back to you, John.
No, I am. I'm thrilled. I think it's going to be a tremendous
Yeah,
opportunity. Great team, really welcoming staff. We
yeah,
love. I've loved it thus far, and I can't wait to dip my toe in the water on Monday morning.
yeah. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and for you, a return to the early alarm clock setting.
Oh boy, you had to bring that up. It's funny. Last night I couldn't sleep because
Yeah,
I knew I had to get up, and I didn't have to get up as early as I do on Monday.
yeah.
I was up at 1:10,
Oh man.
like tossing and turning,
Yeah,
and I think it's probably my son Ben woke me up because he's been going to bed at unearthly hours.
yeah. Right. So he was
And
going to bed when you had to get up.
exactly, he was going to bed with but I got 2.5 hours left. But thanks.
So this is
Like,
awesome. So
what is
you're
going
going to be
on?
doing you're going to be one of the two anchors on the morning show. So you'll be on from 5 to 7, right? And then you'll
5 to 7.
and then you'll do cut-ins during the rest of Good Morning America.
That is correct. I'm going to be working with Doreen Scanlon, who is terrific, a true pro veteran in the
Yeah,
Providence market,
a BC grad, right? Yep.
BC class of 2002. And I'm going to be working with Chelsea Priest on the weather, who's been in the market a long time too. So I think it's going to be a nice little group, and we hope to have a long run, Mike. And
Yeah.
Guys like you will have to come to Providence, a place they haven't been in a long time, and we'll
Yeah.
have to show you a good time.
Yeah, well, I'm not allowed. We're still not allowed in the state of Rhode Island, I think, or I could. I guess I could. I just have to quarantine myself for 2 weeks.
Quarantine.
Yeah,
They're pretty strict.
yeah.
Those signs are everywhere.
Now,
saw
have they
across
lifted
border today.
have they lifted the golf thing? Because you couldn't go
No,
from you still can't do that.
you still have to be a Rhode Island
Right,
resident
yeah,
to play golf. And New Hampshire's the same way, I
yeah,
believe. Maybe
right,
not New Hampshire because
yeah,
they like the revenue, but
yeah,
I think Rhode Island definitely, and I don't blame them. I think we're at a point now where this thing is just so upside down. It's just
yeah,
it swings. All right, one day no deaths in
yeah.
Massachusetts, next day the 20. There's no in between here.
Right, and they're talking about Charlotte has been put on apparently some White House list of maybe being a potential hotspot. So far, we've been okay here in North Carolina and Charlotte. As far as the spike doesn't seem to be too bad, but they're still projecting the more infections down the road. So it's still not out of the woods here. We're still in phase one of kind of some limited extensions of freedoms, if you will, but still kind of staying the course. My guess is if the numbers continue to flatten out, it'll probably go to phase two here in the next week. But we'll see. I mean, I think what's interesting is I think what I've learned through all this, John, since I don't know about March 8th or March 10th, is that we are. Like we've lost our patience as a society, right? And so we have so much access to instant information that we think once we hear something, it's definitive. But when they go back and kind of reanalyze, and I mean like scientists and historians, and when they go back and look at this time period, it's going to be interesting to see because this thing, I don't think we still really have a full handle on how bad this thing is. And I know everybody wants it to get better, but sometimes you gotta let Mother Nature run its course.
Yeah, no, I think that, and that's what they're trying to do. I do think that they should be, as long as the data is friendly at times, or not, kind of ride it for what it's worth, including in Massachusetts, where Governor Cautious, as everyone's calling him now, Charlie Baker, has been deliberate, and I guess I don't blame him, but it's too hard every day to wake up for everybody to have any semblance of reasoning behind this thing. We have no idea where it's going, except Trump has no idea where it's going. It might be 2 more years.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the lesson learned is, and again, you and I talked about this early on in Life Without Sports, but there was one of the guys that used to run the WHO said you don't have to be perfect in the moves you make, but you have to be fast. And I think the deliberate nature of how slow testing and PPE and all this stuff, the slow rollout to all of this has kind of forced us to be in this position. And I think a lot of people that I don't know if they really understand that. Because look, and you and I have said from day one, like, we want the economy. Everybody wants the economy up and running, but right now it's there's still an element of Russian roulette with this thing. We had a family in our neighborhood. The father got it, and he's fortunately for him, didn't have very bad symptoms at all. In fact, he described it as being very mild. I mean, he did have the headache, and he had some one of your favorites, the gastrointestinal issues, but not bad. He said not bad. I mean, he had, but it wasn't, and never really had a bad temperature, never had a fever. So very, could have been worse, right? But then his wife has been in the hospital for a week in the ICU on a ventilator. Now she's, fortunately, according to him, on the mend, getting back on the trying to work her way back up from this thing. But it's, you just don't know. I mean, it affects people differently. And every single day there seems to be new guidelines from the CDC, and now there's this like offshoot that is affecting kids. Is a rash, and that it's I just we all get it. We're tired of being stuck in our homes, and I understand we want to open things up, but we to me there are a lot of times you can make public policy decisions and you have leeway of making mistakes, and we've lost any leeway, I think, in dealing with this thing. We can't make mistakes anymore. I mean, everything we got to do has to hit the target, and I don't know if that's feasible, frankly.
No, I don't think it is at this point, and maybe it will be in a couple months. I hope it is. From a sports perspective, that's the question of the day. No one has any idea. You talk to 100 people, they'll say, "Oh yeah, we're going to start the season on time," and 100 people say, "No, we're not." So,
but here's what's
there's no in between there either.
Well, and I think the interesting thing about starting up baseball is, remember, it wasn't like a week. It was over a week now where Trevor Plouffe, I think, was one of them. A couple players said, "Hey, we're close, blah blah," and we still haven't had that definitive answer about how sports are going to open up. Now, I think it's been encouraging that the Korean baseball has been up and running. I think from where we are in Charlotte, North Carolina, there's a lot of anticipation for NASCAR getting back. They're the track Too Tough to Tame. They're opening up this weekend, so that's going to be big for NASCAR fans. I wish for them that they get a big bump, and I think they will. I don't know if they're going to get as big a bump as they expect. But everything is. But I guess the point of my monologue here, I'll get off the soapbox and let you talk. But everything is got to be a learning curve here, and so anything that they can glean from this and apply it to other sports, it's going to be interesting. The other thing I would add, because this affects you and I somewhat directly, is comments that David Tepper made about the NFL coming back, and people are going to have to get used to maybe. And I'm kind of paraphrasing this. He didn't say it quite like this, or even the tone maybe, but there's going to be hopefully some fans in the stands, but they're going to be very careful in how they and how they map out what the fan situation is going to be like, because that's going to be. I don't think what people are going to be prepared for is, and I think Joe Buck said something about Fox when they come back with baseball, they're going to like pump in crowd noise and like artificially put people in.
Yeah,
I don't know that. I understand why, and I'm not being. It just to me, there's just if something is a little bit off about it, even though it's the right thing to do, potentially, I don't know. I think that's going to be because the fan element is huge.
It is, but you have to be better safe than sorry.
Oh, absolutely, and I'm not saying that. I don't. Yeah.
No, I don't think for the most part people aren't going to want to go anyway. And I mean, I know people are dying for live events. I get that, and I don't mean dying literally, but I think you're looking at a long haul there of getting people back into an arena or a stadium. Maybe it's 10,000 people at first. Maybe it's 5,000. Maybe it's 2. I don't know. I think college football is wrestling with that every day. Yeah. They're going to be first up to baseball. I think there's split decisions on whether that's going to kick off at all. It maybe not until October, and probably just conference games.
Yeah.
Minimize travel as best they can.
Right.
But it's just become such a mental mismatch for everybody to grasp this thing, because no one knows.
And what do you do? And what do you do if like one player or two players or multiple players contract the virus within a short window of getting back up and going? I mean, obviously they're going to have to figure out protocols for all that. There's going to be some, I don't know if quarantining is the right word, but I mean, I think the players will be somewhat sequestered, so when they're not playing, they're not really generating much contact with the outside world. And then you have, it's funny, Trevor Bauer has been kind of on the forefront of talking about the players' side of a negotiation, and it's a tricky issue, because when you look at, the Players Association and the MLB agreed to a pay cut or a pay scale about a month ago, right? And I guess this week the MLB came back and said, well, we're going to have to ask for a further cut from the players, and they went more with a revenue split. And I know some players took great umbrage to that. And if you understand the history of baseball, it's no surprise that the players and the owners are having trouble coming to grips with this, because it's been such a fractious relationship, really since the 1960s, maybe even before that, and certainly with free agency, the Curt Flood decision. But I think I think where the players need to be careful, and I understand their argument. In fact, I'd like to be getting paid right now myself. But if there's I think there's some trepidation and some fear that the owners aren't being honest with the books with the Players Association. That's been a longstanding distrust.
But it's bad optics. It's really bad optics.
Well, it's bad
both
optics,
sides.
but they can't even trust each other to say, if for instance, right? I mean, I would say it's probably fair to say that baseball teams probably generate at least 60 to 70%, maybe even higher, of gate revenue, which is tickets, luxury suites, that type of thing, right? And you don't put people in the stands. That's a huge chunk. Now, do they get a lot of money, TV revenues? Yes. Do they get money from sponsorship stuff? Yes. But what we don't know is how much money is still flowing, right? I mean, if I was a major sponsor, I could see, if I'm a major corporation and I have a deal with 10 major league teams and they're not playing right now, I could say, hey, we're suspending our payment right now because we're not, I could see that.
Right.
Obviously it depends on all the contract language, but it is, well, and this is where I think the players need to take a world view and not a narrow view. Is, look, for a guy who's lost his job at an assembly line or a factory or, financial services company, pick your company. It's hard for somebody who's not generating any income and has to file for unemployment to turn around and see a guy who's guaranteed money, a $50 million contract, complaining about not wanting to play. Now, he couched it saying, it's a safety thing. And look, if it's a safety thing, I can understand it. But it's still, I don't know. When you look at the sacrifices that guys made in World War II, they put their lives literally on the line to fight for this country.
Sacrifices that guys make every day.
Yeah.
And, it was just a horrendous look. I get what he was saying to some extent. Players don't trust the owners. As you said, it's been that way for 50 years. And, they're billionaires, so why don't they suck it up? Well, it's the same on both sides. Players have to suck it up as well. The average salary is over $4 million. I know Blake Snell, you're losing a lot of money. You're not, you're still kind of in your prime, your start of your prime earning years, and you're going to have a bad year. A bad year for him is $800,000.
Yeah. That's
crazy. That's a blockbuster year for 99.9% of the populace. I hate listening to that. I think it's
the funny thing about Blake Snell was
environment.
He was like he was using his Twitch channel, playing video games, talking about this, and it's the optics of it. It's not that there's to me this right and wrong get thrown around a lot. I don't know that it's a right or a wrong thing. It's a choice, and I think some choices look better than others.
Hey, you know what? I mean, he's right about life or death. It's very sad. It's very sad news today about Art Howe.
Yeah,
he's in intensive care with coronavirus. I know he's, he's not in his 70s. I think he's in his 60s, still a young man. But and I'm sure players union that will probably even wake them up even further. But it's just it's time. I think everybody is so tired. I think I talk to people about it all the time. They're just tired of it. They're tired of it because there's nowhere to turn. They feel like there's a little desperation, and that's never a good feeling.
Right. No, absolutely. And the safety issue is completely understandable, and I don't want to lose sight of that. I just to me there's a Russian roulette factor to this thing, John. It's like you can take all the precautions in the world, and one slips by the goalie, and all of a sudden you got this thing. And I just think we have to be mindful that there's some big time personalities out there who really have no, they're speaking about things they really have no experience on or any knowledge to, and they're making false comparisons. And like the other thing that's kind of troubling too is this: have we become that cold that like 90% of these deaths, if the numbers are correct, right, or maybe it's lower than that, maybe 60 or 70% of the deaths are people that are 50 or over. Are we that callous now that that's okay? That's acceptable? I mean,
that's horrible. That's horrible.
I mean,
I don't care.
I don't get it.
Any one death is too many, but I think that's kind of just the narrative on the younger side. Oh, I'm not going to get this. Well, yeah, a lot of people 22 years old have also gotten it, and it's been life or death. They've been on ventilators, so a lot of them have died. Yeah. So it's I guess the frustration part, from an economic standpoint, it's just an absolute disaster. 35 million plus on unemployment.
Yeah.
Unprecedented economic collapse. Where's the dig out period coming?
Yeah.
When will it come? Yeah. I have no idea.
Well, and again, not to be
I think it's too much of an undertaking.
Right, and not to be a broken record, but I think if we were ahead of the testing curve, I think we could have mitigated some of this. Maybe not all of it, but I mean, heck, even if you were able to minimize this by 25 or 30%, that's still a lot better than the boat we're in now. And maybe we're opening up sooner.
It is. Yeah, no, it is.
But I think that's what these people, like the Portnoys and the Clay Travises, like I agree I agree with some of what they're saying. Like that, we got to move on, but you got to do it. You got to do it right. You got to do it smart. Nobody wants to be cooped up for another 3 months. I mean, it's ridiculous. So let's demand the right steps to get back on track. That's what we need.
Well, are you confident that could be done with our leadership?
No, I mean it hasn't been done so far.
And therein lies the problem.
But the other problem, John, though, is that there are people that think that this response has been good. And this it really. I mean, we got to take the politics out of this, and from the standpoint of look, you got to what makes sports so appealing is you're held accountable for the most part on a daily basis, maybe even by an hourly basis or an at-bat, depending on the sport, right? But when you don't take, everything's not rosy, everything's not great, and that can't be the message. I know some people are really happy with the president's policies economically. That's fine. I have no problem with that. But what discourages me is when you can say he's done an okay job, maybe, but you can't say he's done a great job on this. I just don't think you can.
No. Well, hopefully we can move on to more optimistic topics. Yeah. And I know it's a big conclusion this week of The Last Dance, and that's coming up on Sunday night. And also looking ahead, we have, I think, what will be a really good live sporting event, even though it's kind of a trash sport, but it's still the match play between Brady and Mickelson and Tiger and Manning. So I think that will, a week from Saturday, will at least inspire some interest, and you have something live to watch.
Yeah, it's look. The one thing that we need in this time is hope, right? And so if you read too much, I've tried to kind of minimize what
you got too much time on your hands.
Well, I mean, so I've been doing a lot more around the house projects and doing stuff in the yard. I've tried to make sure I'm not online all day because it'll drive you nuts. Because there's an element of there's a little hopelessness to the standpoint of what are you going to do? I try not to sit and do too much as far as getting active on Twitter because it's my voice doesn't matter. No one's going to listen to what I have to say anyway. But you read enough things, and I do try to have a middle of the road approach to things. I try to think logically and what's best, and not what's best for party A or party B, and I think critical thinking has gone out the window. I mean, look, I remember a time, John, where you could be registered to a party or be an independent, and you could still find good in politicians that maybe you didn't agree 100% in, and maybe didn't line up 100% with you, but you could find some good things. And now it's just sad how it's gotten. It's almost like political parties have become rooting for sports teams. It's like you're either an Alabama fan or you're an Auburn fan.
Right.
And I think that's sad.
It's the Wild West out there, Mikey.
Yeah.
It certainly is. But I think.
Well, you're about to jump into the fray.
Yeah,
a little bit.
I am.
Fake news, Mita Burrell.
I hope not. I hope not.
No, I'm just kidding. You're going to be. You'll be the Walter Cronkite of Providence.
Oh, definitely. That stabilizing voice that we all need in these desperate times.
Yes.
I hope I can convey at least some of that.
Was that the promo you did?
No, you're going to see that promo if you're in the Providence area on Sunday on ABC 6.
Yeah.
So you'll enjoy that waterfront view of Providence. So that's just we'll give you a tease on that one. But I must say, Mike, life without sports. I guess now it's life with news for me.
Yeah.
It's been a heck of a ride, and I know that hopefully this thing will continue in some other avenue for you. And I know you have a lot of good things on the horizon yourself, so it's going to be fun to watch you in the coming months and see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know. We'll throw in some ideas around about maybe doing something, continuing with this in some form or fashion. So we'll see about that. In the immediate future, I think we're going to take because this has been an exhausting month of work. So I think we're going to take a little bit of time on a hiatus to figure out what we're doing with this particular thing.
Well, there's always, you can always come up with some suitable replacements like your dog for me.
Yes. I think Huskies, look, maybe incorporate some TikTok videos. You do that, I think it's a hit.
TikTok would be good. TikTok tends to go viral.
TikTok, anything with a dog is good. Dog kids.
You can show off your sideburns on a daily basis.
Yeah, how about that, right? Is better?
Those are some chops, man.
Yeah.
Those are some mutton chops.
And this, I don't know, the pandemic, whatever this is, I'm doing, I don't know how long it's going to last, but we'll see.
Well, you got some moss to deal with there.
Yeah. Hey, so people can live stream, right? If they're not in Providence, right? How do we watch?
Absolutely. ABC6 is definitely available on many cable systems around New England.
Yep.
I know Verizon and Comcast pick it up throughout the region, but you can also watch it at abc6.com. Just click on the menu icon and drop down to Watch Live News.
Watch Live News. Now, I don't know that I'm going to get up at 5 o'clock on Monday, but I'll try and... maybe I'll pull a Ben. Maybe I'll just stay up until 5 in the morning.
Yeah, well, why don't you just come by my room and wake me up at 1 when you go to bed? So then I only have an hour and a half left, and I'm totally disrupted.
Yeah,
so that would be but I'm not complaining. I'm cherishing this opportunity.
No, I'm excited for you
and this challenge.
Yeah, I think it's gonna. Well, yeah, I think you're gonna be natural. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I think you're. I've always been very supportive. You know that. Yeah, I think you're one of the most talented people I've ever been around, and that's.
Now you're gonna make me cry.
No. Well, this isn't goodbye. I still expect.
Did you ever know that you're my hero?
Oh man, yeah. No, we still got. We'll keep up the daily phone calls though. That's good.
Did you watch the Gary Marshall special on
ABC?
It
was fantastic, wasn't it?
Phenomenal.
It was really good.
If you haven't seen it yet, folks, watch it. A little sappy, but that's what Gary Marshall was. I think Mikey's overlooked in the field as. Maybe because he was sappy and he was altruistic and all his shows dealt with pretty much good themes.
Right. But that was the era, though. You know what I mean? Like I know in the 80s and 90s, it started to shift from, the sappy family. Let's learn from our mistakes and let's do fables and kind of make it modern and weave it into a positive, good story, happy ending type thing. To some extent, maybe we miss those days. I'll say the one thing that I forgot about Gary Marshall, and this really reminded me of it, was just how prolific that guy was. I mean, you forgot about all the movies he did, and he made a lot of money for a lot of companies, and some of
those movies were horrible.
Yeah, some were bad
at the end of the run, like Valentine's Day.
Right. But that's when you have
all those.
Yeah.
the mishmash of people.
The mishmash. But I think what was interesting was the emotion displayed at the end by like Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. I mean, major stars, and brought to tears. Hector Elizondo, who was in like 15 of his movies, great character actor.
Terrific.
I mean, it was. Yeah, I mean, look, there's still
just the right chord.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Ron Howard.
Yeah.
What struck me too was the fact that when he was on his deathbed, his family called and said, "You got to come."
Yeah,
because
and everybody showed up.
Time left.
Yeah,
everybody showed up.
Yeah.
How often does that happen, especially in Hollywood?
Yeah. What I thought was interesting was you knew about the offshoots, right? So you knew Laverne and Shirley being on Happy Days. We knew that was the spinoff. Same thing with Mork and Mindy, but I didn't realize. Like I always thought it was like more preordained, but it was like Robin Williams is he subs for a guy that they bounced on Wednesday. He had them convinced that they had something going on a Friday, and then during the taping, Michael Eisner's like, "All right, we got to get a show for this guy," and that's pretty.
That's quite a story.
Yeah. And he was doing just like regular. I mean, he wasn't even doing like great. I don't think he was
on the street.
Yeah, he was doing street stand-up.
He was passing the hat like you used to do at Fenway.
Yeah, he was a stand-up philosopher.
You were outside the Batter's Box restaurant on Yawkey Way.
Yeah.
Passing the hat. Yeah. Remember the Batter's Box?
Oh yeah, I remember the Batter's Box. Batter's Box
right outside Fenway.
Right outside Fenway.
My dad and I used to grab a double cheeseburger.
Oh yeah.
Before the game. By the way, for those of you who are on Instagram, follow Alex Salkin. Not that he needs me to boost his followers, but the creator of Family Guy and Ted is absolutely hilarious with his Boston impersonations. Dead on with Marty Walsh.
Marty.
New York, for that matter, too, with Governor Cuomo. But he does some great stuff on his grandparents, talking about going to Fenway. Yeah. The best is when he says his grandfathers were notorious for saying, "I'll meet you there between 4 and 4:30."
Quite
it was always, there was never like a 4:10.
Yeah, right.
4:30. Yeah. It was 6:30.
Yeah, and he got a Buttrick's reference in there too, right? The precursor to Brigham's.
Buttrick's reference was outstanding.
Yep.
Yes, Weston establishment institution. I grew up going there eating Sharpies and grilled cheese and bacon.
Grilled cheese and bacon, baby.
Yep.
That's how I learned how to cook.
Loved it. And how about a good chocolate milkshake from Buttrick's? Oof.
Chocolate fraps, man. That's the way to go.
Chocolate frap.
Chocolate
nice
frap.
And thick. And those are good stuff.
Miss those.
It's I'm going to raise a chocolate frap, Mikey, to you.
Yeah, and to
maybe I'll have that for breakfast on Monday morning.
That's right. I think that's what you should do. I think you should stop by. Find like a 24-hour. I guess they don't even have Friendlies anymore, but find a 24-hour ice cream shop and get yourself a frap.
I don't know about Rhode Island right now. I'll try. They have loosened the restrictions in Rhode Island.
No, I know. Even in the heydays before the pandemic, I don't think there was such a thing as a 24-hour ice cream shop. But
there should have been. You were onto something.
Maybe that's on our road to recovery. We'll do that.
Kramerica Industries. But Mikey, you're a true pro.
You too, brother.
And a phenomenal friend.
Yes, sir.
And thanks to all of you. Wink, wink, nod, nod, nod. Who watch this on a daily basis. Thank you, Mark Yarbrough. Anybody else you want to thank?
We'd like to thank the Academy, my mom and dad, and my loving wife and my kids and my dogs.
There you go.
Yeah.
John Pacheco, dogs, Ben, Nick.
Yeah.
Any and all comers.
Any and all comers.
Thanks for supporting us. That bottom line remains 0.
Yeah. I'm just glad Paul Scharf called you back.
Paul Scharf, hello to you. He did call me back. Good shout out there, too. But we'll see you.
That's right. Oh, you just lost me. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. And we'll catch up to you sometime down the road.